All right, folks, another midweek here, and we greet you one and all. Welcome to another date on Journalist Hangout, and I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Today on the program, APC releases timetable for primaries, Osinbajo Atiku tangle over restructuring, just as former VP challenges critics to prove that he is corrupt, and later on this one, Trade Union Congress TUC begs governors over minimum wage. Let me report I'm hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, GKO.
GKB.
Did you?
BKO.
BKO.
GKB.
Did you consider that? Yeah. We also have Gani Kayode Balogun, GKB.
So many G's there.
Okay. And then you have Kunu Adeniyi.
Taiwo, CAT, K-A-T.
Oh.
Don't leave me out of the acronym. Come on.
CAT, C-A-T.
Yeah.
Okay then, so the team is ready. I hope you are. All right then, you know, in politics, the scale of time for the politician, especially in our jurisdiction, is the period between one primary and the next one. For the ruling All Progressives Congress APC, a timetable for primaries is a desideratum or an essential ahead of the 2019 general election. At a glance, the schedule shows that the governorship primary is slated for September the 25th, that for senatorial fixed for September the 27th, a House of Reps September the 29th, October the 2nd is the date built for State Assembly primary. Perhaps the song and dance about the whole picture, if any, is having to do with the nomination fees set for the various positions. For the top job, the fee is 40 million naira, that's for the number one seat. And the fee for governorship, 22.5 million naira, senatorial 7 million, House of Reps 3.85 million, and for the State Assembly it is pegged at 850,000 naira. Well, did you see this coming?
No, I expected them to monetize the sale of monetize the expression of interest form, but I didn't, in my wildest imagination.
That's why they are
imagine
politicians. They keep you guessing.
These people, they've moved me away from simply guessing to asking myself what's going on. Because, look.
The presidential 40 million naira. Now, expression of interest, the form sells for 5 million.
Yes.
So we are talking about 45 million.
5 million. It's, corruption will always thrive in our land, honestly, and it will be difficult for people to wholly commit themselves to serving the people. Because
you sound like writing a book on it.
There's no way, there's no justification for getting people seeking elective positions to pay this much. There was an NGO that came up with the idea of discouraging the monetization of our politics. This is an example of the monetization of our politics.
Okay.
If you want to discourage this whole thing turning into an all-commerce affair, it is not simply by selling forms at exorbitant prices that you can discourage. You can actually create a system whereby people get screened, people will pass through different layers of screening,
Okay.
you know, to ascertain their suitability for positions without necessarily demanding that they pay so much.
And you are not told anywhere when you drop 45 million naira, it is refundable if you cannot get the ticket.
Refundable.
It's not refundable.
What parties do sometimes is, because this thing is not refundable, it makes it all the more painful when politicians get cheated out of maybe
Using the word
probable,
cheated
yes, a probable win.
loosely.
When cheated, it's still possible for you to pay all of this, and then the process is not transparent.
Okay.
Now, when politicians get cheated out of a probable win, it makes it all the more painful because you know that you've paid so much, you know, to secure the expression of interest form, the nomination form, and all that. So what they sometimes do is to say, okay, we will refund as part of the moves to placate the agri politicians. Okay, what we'll do is we'll refund what you have
That's it.
paid.
Yeah.
We'll refund.
Gani, but you, as in the common parlance, not today.
Yeah. There's the reality and there's the expected. The expected, of course, is the fact that we assume that our politicians will do the right thing by making sure the space is open and people can come in, try their luck, and if they lose, they'll go away. But that's the expected. But the reality is that there's no way right now that they can run away from making some sort of money as the gatekeeping element of this contest. Because even with this money, you and I know that at a particular level, this will appear to be chicken change to some of these people who are truly eager to test their popularity within the party. Yeah. So we cannot run away from reality that is our reality. We are stuck with it for now. Maybe 2 electoral circles later, maybe 4 circles later, you can get to a point where it becomes obvious that popularity alone is not enough. It's not enough to do that. But having said that, I think the way something is arranged is what is really funny to me. Because the governors, the most contentious elements...
22.5 million nomination form, expression of interest 2.5 million.
Yeah, and they get the money. Because they want to be governor of a state. Normally, in normal climes, this is something that the supporters will provide. The supporters of the guy will have done...
GKB, this climb is not abnormal.
Okay, in other climes.
Yeah.
In other climes. But the reality we are facing now, like I said, is the fact that the party is in a fix to stay with his promise of bringing change.
By the way, is it about making money?
It's not about making money. It's about making sure. Like I said, it's not ideal. But in their mind, politicians have a way of justifying anything. To them, right now, the first thing to do is to restrict those who are not serious. And in their mind, the only sign of seriousness is the ability to pay that amount and show that you are serious.
So it's only the rich that are capable of providing leadership.
That's it.
That's what they are trying to imply.
That's the impression, yeah.
And must it even be higher than what the PDP
even when
is demanding from...
If you make it 40 million refundable, as many people who would have gotten the form if it was not, would still be there.
They will still be there.
This is politics. Kunu, you know, the adage says to go forward, you must go back. There's been this talk in the course of the last 2-3 weeks. Yeah. Why not make politics what we had in the Second Republic, where you were a member and you were a joiner, you paid dues and so on, not with the money bags hijacking the system?
I think
would it be like taking us back to the
not necessarily.
dark age?
If you look at it, a lot of things have evolved over time. And many persons will tell you that if technology has improved, why then do we need to stay in the analog era to do certain things? And the peculiarity of what wins election in this part of the world is really the reason why you see all of these emanations. One of the things that subtracts for me from the ideal that the ruling party has been projecting for the past 3 years is this particular price tag to those who intend to, be part of the rights that the Constitution provides for them, which is to vote and be voted for. And in addition to that, it actually changes the narrative for what the president himself stands for, which is to ensure that many young persons have the opportunity to be part of the elective process. So I think it has become very instructive that for many persons, this is not a proper posture for a party that has a placard of anti-corruption. So I think strongly that let's not also forget here that 15 million naira has been shaved off that amount. What initially trended, and that with 55.5 million. Yeah. So if you look at it at the moment, I believe that the outcry of the people, as to the amount being outrageous, resulted in this 40 million. And I also want to believe that if many persons still clamor for something better, it is just proper for people who have leadership opportunities to respond positively to this.
Jide, we can go back there. Not too young. Maybe it's not for 2019. So, but not too young might angle for the office of governor, for Senate, House of Reps.
House of Assembly.
And State House of Assembly,
Yes. Well, the truth is, you know that the Senate didn't exactly do what those people wanted, what the promoters of the bill wanted at that time.
Okay, the not too young bill.
Yes, in terms of the age ceiling.
Yeah.
The age ceiling for National Assembly, they deliberately didn't lower it, whereas they went lowering other.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So why they had to do that, I wouldn't understand. But for people, it's just the result of selfishness on their part. They don't want the National Assembly to become an all-commerce affair, But for them,
But the gubernatorial
but they'd rather the young folks were a part of that assembly.
yeah, for me,
So how do you reconcile that?
We need the energy of the young people, the inventiveness of the young people in the National Assembly. If there is one place where in the next election we should be hoping to have the right people, it has to be the National Assembly. I had proposed in the past that people who had been captains of industry, people who had succeeded in the private sector, a lot of them should be in the National Assembly.
Yeah.
Because they will have the requisite experience and the skills to handle certain situations. You see sometimes when they bring some of these CEOs and the rest of them, they are querying them. The National Assembly members asking them questions don't have the exposure to even pose the right questions to these people. And you see they let them get out of jail because they do not have the right.
But again, boardroom politics is different from
No,
raw politics.
It's different, but because these guys, by the nature of their oversight functions,
Okay.
they can summon MTN, they can summon the banks. So their job is not strictly to make laws. They are as members of the National Assembly, they have different committees. They can summon the discos, those who run the discos, to ask them questions. Why have you not been able to provide electricity? So there are some skills that they should have. If the right people who have made it in different spheres of life, if they find their way into that National Assembly, you see that the quality of even lawmaking will improve.
Okay.
But that is really not the situation. We need quality people. It is only in Nigeria that someone who has failed in private life gets invited to come and try his hands at public life. They failed as private people. Nobody wants to know that they failed as private people. You now give them an elective position to represent you and I. A man who has failed to even sufficiently represent himself and his family, there is no way that at the national level he will be able to excel. It's not just going to happen. That's why we succeed in some cases to get thieves into the National Assembly. Remember, someone even looked around.
Be careful the word. No,
someone
please.
looked around and said, I'm seeing people who used to be in my cell here. That's the last. Know Aliu. He said it the first time.
DIG.
Yes, he said it the first time. He said it the second time. Then the second time, they now decided to suspend him. But he wasn't lying. There was an armed robbery suspect that was in his cell.
No, but
that he was not in the Senate with.
We can give vent to that because I remember the EFCC nailed Maurice Ibekwe, you remember? Bless his soul. No, it's not about mentioning him. He was a member. He was a member of the National Assembly.
A person who is dead cannot sue you for libel. So there's really no...
Not even his relatives.
no.
So let's bury the debate there. But the debate must continue for if you missed it, to want to be president, pay 5 million, expression of interest. And then pay 40 million for the form.
Yeah.
Governor, pay 2.5 million, expression of interest, 22.5
It was
million.
talking about, it was talking about the sequence. Was something that it was going to talk about, that the sequence of this. Why should this come before this? I mean the primaries. Why should this come before this? It's all politicking.
It's all politics.
Again, the debate is interminable. All right, still to come, Oshibajo Atiku tangle over restructuring, just as the former VP challenges critics to prove that he is corrupt. You want to stay with us? Right then, now students of dialectics or polemics would definitely have a field day determining between a restructuring or fiscal federation or federalism as the cure-all for our man-made political conundrum. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar's critique of the number 2 man, Professor Yemi Oshibajo's recent comment that Nigeria did not need a geographical restructuring is sending political scientists and commentators back to the classroom. Again, the former VP is miffed by, in his words, self-righteous political enemies who claim he is corrupt. To them, his charge is this: prove that I am corrupt or shut up forever.
I agree with him.
Okay. That's the point.
It's not enough to simply say, oh, Atiku is a thief, this and that, Atiku has stolen so much. Bring out the proof. We have anti-corruption agencies. What have they been doing all these years? I mean, if Atiku has stolen so much from our country, because when you mention Atiku's name, people will say he has this corruption baggage. But it's not known to have been sentenced by any court of
Indicted.
law. Or even
It is not known
indicted.
that he's been brought before
Before any
the
judge.
court.
Yes, before any judge on account of corruption. So, and I'm saying that after serving the country as vice president
8 years.
for 8 years, by now, there should be cast iron case
Against him.
of corruption, at least one. We know some people who are just acting governors, and
3 months.
they were found guilty of corruption, even sentenced. We know people who are governors for 3 months, and the military took over. And they put them before the tribunal and tried them for corruption. So if Atiku is challenging those who call him corrupt, I think those people should take up the challenge and provide evidence of corruption by Atiku and other people who probably had worked with him. So let them bring it so that we can be sure that this man is indeed corrupt. But if you do not bring it, he has every time that he tries to contest an election, people will say he's corrupt, the matter of corruption will come out. But on all those occasions, not once did anybody bring a case against this man. So is it so difficult to build a case?
Sometimes you want to behave like a cynic. If nobody has elected to take him to court over these things, why not the man? You know, I'm talking like a cynic.
Take himself to court.
Did you hear me right?
Maybe not quite bomb.
No, when you say why not the man, so I'm wondering which man you are talking about now.
GKB, let's talk more seriously. Let's look at the first leg of the discourse now.
Yeah.
Fiscal federalism, the books tell me it talks about a decentralized system or levels of government. Now, restructuring talks about a demerger or a response to a crisis situation or the act of reorganizing ownership or operational structure of a system, politically or otherwise.
Yeah.
So who is saying what here?
Both of them are correct, of course. We are in a conundrum that needs both answers. We need to look at fiscal federalism as well as restructuring. When I heard the vice president, when he spoke on this matter, I waited for the full list of what he said, and I read it, and I'm not really impressed. But I know Professor Yemi Oshibajo and the Lagos team has this mindset, independent of others, that they believe what they call statism instead of regionalism, which of course is just another word to keep the present structure, to pay those who are paid. And what the former president is saying is that the current structure is too unwieldy. They need to disbound and unbound and rebound, as the case may be, such things that will work. Now, both of them have aspects in theory and in reality. Those who keep saying, using Lagos as an example of what true fiscal federalism will do, keep forgetting that the federal capital of Lagos is basically a very small space between what we now call sawdust at Mobile and Yaba, where you used to have the tall tower. Every other thing in Lagos is the property of Western Nigeria. That means when Government created Lagos, he took the bulk or the diamond of what Western Nigeria has as its assets and added it over to Lagos.
And by the way, Western Nigeria stopped at Fade, today's Fade. Yeah.
So you understand what I'm saying? So what Professor Oshibajo is saying is not really new to some of us. They've always believed that because Lagos works, means that states, but you and I know that what the former vice president is saying is clear. The way people cannot pay wages, they cannot do infrastructure, they cannot do anything, they are just basically tenants or rent collectors from Abuja. It cannot go on forever. Something must give. If you have to match states, let's match them. If you have to cancel local governments, let's cancel them. The reality here is that both of them have, but I'm very happy for one thing. The engagement has been very civil, very decent. No calling of names, nobody is throwing hanky-panky. Everybody has clearly marshaled their points, and it's up to us to now decide which one is right.
The VP described Atiku as my illustrious predecessor.
Yeah. So you understand? So I think, personally, I like the direction that the two men are taking this political space, because it's very fantastic. They can now talk about issues instead of calling names.
Oh, yeah. Kunu, before we came on, we broached the subject, and I took you down history lane, memory lane, if you like. I said in 1963, we had the Republican Constitution. All three of you are familiar with this. It gave autonomy to the regions then, which today would be states. Yeah. And so both of them are right.
But if you look at it...
you understand where my
yes,
drift?
Of course.
So what can be new about this call?
I think to first of all address the posers you put forward. When you talk about the issues of restructuring, it addresses the physicalities of imbalances. If you took cognizance of the things like the number of states, the number of local governments, like 419 local governments for the 19 states of the north, and of course about over 354 for the 17 states of the south, you'd find out that
minus Bakassi.
Minus
go on.
Come on, Jones. So if you look at that, restructuring addresses the physicalities of imbalances.
Yeah.
Then if you talk about devolution of power, it talks about improper representations, such as we have at the respective legislative chambers. So I think to put to rest the complexities of semantics and syntax, that's why I've done that. But if you look at Nigeria's historical antecedents as far as power is concerned, you see that the ungodly interregnum we had with incursions of the military has actually disabled a lot of the things that have allowed Nigeria operate as it should. And that is why we won't want to look away from Decree 34, Decree 14, and Decree 18 as put forward by one alive, one dead, Aguiyi Ironsi, and the one alive go on. So when Aguiyi Ironsi that actually perhaps did that...
He triggered the whole thing.
That's what I'm saying.
And one is not saying this to raise any dust. These are facts.
These are facts that are put forth.
Yeah.
So whenever we talk about restructuring and the rest of it all, I think we need to sit back and look at how we walked, jogged, or ran to this point, which many of the times at the different republics we've had, up until the 8th one now, we've not been able to address those issues, especially the short periods we've had under democratic governance. For instance, the rule books that guide us now is still a contested document that Professor Yududa and certain persons, the man who ensured the mediation and return to democracy in 1919, Atiku Abubakar, They just put the
Welcome
documents.
to Salam.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome to Salam. You know, they put the papers together for us to have a document to function with. So, and if you look at it again, the different conferences they've had have also not helped us.
10 of them.
Oh, 10. So
10.
That simply means we perhaps have not decided to address what affects us.
We are not ready.
We are not ready, obviously.
Jide, you know, Decree 34 abolished the regions, and Agui Ironsi called it the unification decree. But Gowon came, promulgated Decree 14 to quash Decree 34, and brought Decree 8, which imposed or invoked the unitary system. And Decree 8 has not been abrogated till now.
Yeah, but honestly, the restructuring thing, what I would want to see is phased restructuring. Phased restructuring, because that represents, in my view, the best approach to this whole problem. Because when you talk about restructuring, it's an emotive, emotive matter in Nigeria. And you see, when the vice president said, look, the problem we have is not physical restructuring, not geographical restructuring, that the problem we have is that of good governance. Good governance appears alien to us as a people. Naturally, when you talk like that...
Can you restructure good governance?
No, that he is saying that...
No, I'm just pulling your legs.
The issue we have, the problem we have, is that of good governance, corruption, and all that. Yeah. When you talk like that, you give people the feeling that you do not want the restructuring debate, that you want the status quo to be maintained.
Exactly.
Now, because leaders have to choose even issues that they respond to. Whether Professor Osinbajo likes it or not, at this time, many Nigerians think that we have to follow the path of restructuring. And some of the contestants, aspirants from the PDP side, the McCarthy's of this world, people who the vice president now refers to as latter-day converts for restructuring. It is because they've seen that this is what Nigerians want. They've seen that the average Nigerian wants to see restructuring happen in his time. That is why it has now become one of the main kernels of their
and you don't think this is
campaigns.
Barefaced politics?
Even this is the season of politics. It's well within their right to say those things. Because we say things that we know people will be pleased to hear. Nobody wants to say things that will turn people away. You want their votes. So it's well within their rights to say those things. It is when they win the election and they fail to do it that we'll be able to determine whether they are lying or they were being sincere. So if as vice president you are saying, the issue is not geographical restructuring, that the issue for us is good governance, that restructuring in itself will not solve all our problems. The message that will send across is that this man does not want restructuring. Whereas Osinbajo, from the time I've known him, has been an advocate of restructuring. He's been to the courts to push for federalism, fiscal federalism, restructuring of some sorts. So, but now that is why Atiku was very quick to dismiss all that he said, without actually casting his mind back to the battles that the vice president had waged for us to have state police. He's always canvassed for a state police, for the states to have greater autonomy. Yeah. So it's because...
Which is not completely out of place.
It's not, within...
So both issues, both positions, sorry.
Both of them are apostles of restructuring.
Okay. All right, Yakub, you are here. Thank you for your patience. Let's go, Yakub.
Yeah, good evening, citizens.
Yeah.
And then, good evening, Babajide, and then the rest of the team in the studio. I would have not taken us back to the first topics. I think
let's discuss this. This one is key.
Fine. See, as Babajide rightly said, all Nigerians, don't let me say all Nigerians, most of Nigerians now, they were clamoring for restructuring. Although this restructuring of the thing that we are talking about, how do we go? The question is, how do we going to go about it? Because you can see that the former President Obasanjo called for a national conference. The last government called for also national conference up to today. The last conference, they lost the ability to sign that conference into law because the last national conference, they made up all the recommendations. But the former president, the president of GED, he made the mistake because he was trying to show that maybe he will come back to come and sign it into law. They sent it to him, and then he was delayed for him to sign those recommendations into law because, and then they wanted to take it back to the National Assembly. Who are those to pass this law? Those National Assembly, I doubt it, they will never do that. But the structure we are talking about is they should be able to control all Nigeria. Most Nigeria that will tell us what we really need to make this Nigeria go forward.
Thank you. Yeah,
Very passionate.
GKB,
Yes, sir.
restructuring or fiscal federalism. They are both, as we have agreed,
Twins,
Jide and
two
I.
brothers.
Yeah, it doesn't matter in the order they come, but if fiscal federalism is as sweet as restructuring.
Yes,
So
it's even part of the restructuring.
so what can be wrong with it? Nothing can be wrong with it.
The reality of the matter is this, that unknown to many people, this government has devolved more powers, especially to Lagos and some states, about things that normally 10 years ago is unheard of. Federal government assets have been handed over to some states. Federal government roads have been given permission to do by states. Things that normally will not work under a military regime is working. But the problem with our people is that they want to put it in black and white. Something because this is based on relationship between Mr. Buhari and Mr. Mbodi. People want to know that can this thing continue after these people who are friends are no longer on the stage. That's what they mean by restructuring. Because little things that Professor Chibaju has done are just little drops in the amount of things that we needed. We all know based on reality, and it's what they're trying to do with FSAS, that certain things cannot be done from the center. And what's happening in the Northeast, certain information you cannot get, the people who are enforcing the law are not from that locality. Yeah. Things that are realities that this government is working on directly, but it's now based solely on relationship. What people are asking for is make it official, so that if I don't like the face,
Just like can be backed by
if I don't like the face of Jide as governor, I don't have to now frustrate him from enjoying things that are given to somebody in the recent past. That is what we need to do. Both men are correct. The only problem is that they are coming through different angles.
I know, and another thing is they view each other as adversaries.
Okay.
In this debate.
Yeah.
The vice president sees Atiku as a latter-day convert to this matter of restructuring. And there are many people who think Atiku suddenly started talking about restructuring because he wants the votes of people from the southwest, from the south. And then Atiku also thinks that because this restructuring debate is resonating and some of us are garnering support on account of this, then the vice president wants to deflate our argument and in the process even demarket us. So that is the way, and the vice president said he did not read his text to the end. Because if Atiku had read the text to the end, he would have seen that the vice president is also an apostle
of
and a illustrious apostle of restructuring. Of restructuring. He's always wanted it. He's always fought for it. Till today, he still believes in state police. The truth is, some of our people, even in the National Assembly, some of the elements of the blueprint that the confab came up with are already being implemented. Now you see that they set up a committee the other day, and the Senate, to look at state police. How do we bring in state police? Because those issues like that, some of the issues that our people want when they clamor for restructuring, we will need an amendment to the Constitution for those things to happen. That's why I said I will support
by
phased restructuring.
Yeah, and
For
by
example,
extension, you need a cooperative National Assembly.
yes, yes. But it's
Cooperative.
good that the same National Assembly now is saying, okay, why don't we have state police? When, at the peak of the killings in Zamfara, it occurred to people that, look, state police may well solve this problem. And when you see what the RRS has done in Lagos, it has shown that the police, that states can actually effectively manage their own police, fund their own police, provide equipment, provide everything that they
get
need,
results.
and they'll get the right results. So if we can just, as a people, stop the idea of playing politics with everything, we will see that there is so much merit in this restructuring thing. But for people who want the status quo to maintain, who will feel threatened that, oh, this restructuring thing is one plan to take away what we enjoy, those are the people who will not see value in this restructuring debate.
Kunu, in our politics, we lack flexibility in dealing with the opponent. Both gentlemen are saying the same thing from different angles. So where is the problem now? How do we kickstart the debate? We need a robust national debate.
Well, I tell you that the debate is on, and that is why we're here, considering the positions of both leaders, both past and present. But I think suspicion is the bane of our politics, and that is why often you...
Mutual suspicion.
Mutual suspicion.
And distrust.
Most definitely, from both ends. And I think we have to evolve that particular level that we find ourselves repeatedly, if at all we want to address issues and leave the chaff of discussions. So I think the first thing that they should do is, as he rightly said, most of the things happening that we see, for instance, government ceding some of its property to Lagos state government and allowing certain things to be done, is because of the party relationship. You know, the party at the center is the same as the party in Lagos and maybe some other states. I think we need to make governance transcend the now, such that the rule books allow you to function regardless of if my party is in or not. So I think that we have to come to terms with the reality of governance as a continuum, rather than something that is party-driven alone. Of course, we know that no political party, can exist without that name, but it's about the people. If you look at this discussion, the question that has not been addressed is, what is the gain for the people that they eventually want to bear rule over? The point is, we often do not listen to what people want. If you sample the emotions of people over time, you find out that many people from certain sections of the country are clamoring for restructuring. Then later on, they told us that they don't know the meaning of restructuring. They set up a committee to check the definition, redefine what restructuring is, and later on, the committee came up with the definition of what they think restructuring is, and we've had different definitions and different terminologies. So I think that we should lay aside all of those as needless and address what is
and
needed.
GKB
committee set up by the APC.
Yes, of course.
Headed by Ahmed.
The tallest man in Kaduna.
Oh, come on. There you go again. The man is
Because
watching.
you are taller.
He is. All right, let's quickly take Olawale. Olawale, I imagine we have provoked you. Welcome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good evening, Citizen Jones.
I greet you, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, good evening, Citizen Jones.
I greet you, sir. Welcome.
Encyclopedia, good evening.
I greet you, sir.
People have not been picking my calls, but...
You are here now. Olawale, take advantage.
Yes, I'm here now.
Let's go.
Please, in Nigeria, there must be a consensus on the definition of restructuring. What actually do we need? What actually do we want in terms of restructuring? Most of the politicians who are talking of restructuring now is because they want to cash in on it just to win elections. Not that they are really convinced. Most of them, when they get back to their constituency and tell them that this is what we want to do, they will say no. They will not agree. Okay? So let us have a consensus on the definition. For instance, an aspect of confab report, the last one, they wanted to create 18 states. Now we should be talking of amalgamation of states. Most of the states are not viable. They cannot even pay the salary.
Can you name one? Olawale, can you name one for us?
Physical development.
Olawale, I want to take you to task. Name one state
That is not viable.
that's not viable. Don't mention Akwa Ibom, my state.
I don't mention Kogi.
No, my own state is not viable.
No, okay.
Ekiti state is not viable.
Here you go again. Come on.
My adopted state.
Okay, thank you, Olawale.
Thank you.
GKB, we must go there.
Yeah.
We can't avoid it at this stage. The 1963 Republican Constitution gave all these things to the states.
To the regions.
To the region. Okay, sorry, the regions. Today, 66 issues on the exclusive list. These are, most of them belong in the states.
Regions,
like
yeah.
police recruitment belonged in the states too, you know. Resource control. That was why Western Chief Awolowo could have built a stadium, built Cocoa House, built a TV house, and so on, without recourse to the center. So why are we afraid of going there?
Well, you cannot go forward without going to the past. Most of the things that Aguiyi did may be for certain other reasons, but we never let it go. We started building on that misnomer. And during the war, more powers were now taken back from the states to the center so that they can raise enough money to fight the war. And they never got back after Gowon left. And more people came on board, were piling on it. For us to go back means that we must agree as a nation.
No, for us to go front.
To go forward by
We
going
must go
back. We must agree as a nation that we've been living a lie since 1963.
Yeah.
And then we must face the reality that for us to continue, we must come back to basics and work on it. Those who think they have...
How much longer can we even continue?
Because this country is
concern
wobbly.
here.
It's wobbly, there's no money to be shared, states cannot pay, people are, let me don't use the word overemployed. And people are bringing, seriously, because a lot of people that ought to be on the market trading are in the civil service, doing practically nothing.
As a matter of fact, when I hear the EFCC had just docked the lady, the civil servant who 60 million naira, 60 million naira tight, you know, and offering and all that, tells you a lot is wrong with the system.
We can do a whole program on civil service, but I don't think this is the time. A whole program.
That's civil. They say make you come out see, make it.
There's a commissioner in Lagos who call them evil servants.
Evil servant. No, come on.
Okay.
Time is tight. Time is tight.
It's okay.
All right. You know, there could be no end to the question of a new national minimum wage. We might go back there.
We will go back there.
There can be no end to the debate. But, you know, so many figures are flying in the air, and some of them may be trifling, but the consensus is that the 18,000 naira minimum wage is as unreasonable as it is indefensible. Okay, the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria, TUC, Bayelsa State Chapter, has jumped into the ring and begged for a middle course in the minimum wage imbroglio. State Chairman of the TUC there, Tari Donana, I hope I got that right, has appealed to Governor to support the federal government in its efforts to implement a new national minimum wage. We know some state governors are owing salaries as we speak. Jide?
Yes. I can feel the pain of workers, and I can understand why the Bayelsa chapter chairman has had to appeal to governors, because remember a few weeks back, the Minister of Labour complained that governors were reluctant to come forward with their own proposal as to what should be paid to workers, because these governors are critical stakeholders in this minimum wage saga. Yeah. So you must get their buy-in. If you do not get their buy-in, you've done absolutely nothing, because the public service employs so many Nigerians. Now, what do? Governors clearly do not want this matter resolved until the elections, because if it is not well handled honestly,
Boomerang.
it will boomerang. Even the ruling party can pay for it. So when people said, why the Buhari promised this, promised that, it's because it's a constitutional matter. The Constitution stipulates that after a number of years, you must...
I thought I had 5 years.
5 years. You must come up with a new minimum wage. Fine, because we know that inflation has, over the years, even messed up people's earnings. You know, the inflation has made it difficult for many of our people who are even workers to be able to say that they can make savings.
As a matter of fact, I hope nobody is listening. Even away from the civil service, before, when you done the near payday, you are
People don't chop food on credit, you know. All of them, they will be opening their books. You say, this person we don't chop for 15 days, we no pay. Make it come now. So it's extremely difficult. Now, these governors, we need to appeal to these governors. How much do you want to pay? I had a governor, I think the governor of Gombe said he could pay 50. How about the rest of you? Let's have unanimity amongst you so that we can take this forward.
There must be a middle course.
Because the minister said September, Nigerians will be given a new minimum wage. And we are in September. September won't remain forever. Before we know it, will soon come to the end of September. You know, so what is really happening? Everyone is just eager to see a conclusion to this matter.
GKB, to underscore what you said earlier on, to go forward, we must go back. Yeah. Let's go back to the 1963 Republican, which devolved powers to states, or regions as they then were, you know. When you hear that illegal mining is thriving in the middle belt portion of Nigeria, you are asking.
Even in the northwest.
Okay, it's thriving. So you are asking, why not allow these states exploit these things to advantage
and pay some royalty to the...
as it happened in 1963.
Yes. And you know the 1963 Constitution clearly stated, 50% you keep.
Yeah.
That's
and
your money.
You pay your tax.
30% to a common pool, then 30% to run the federal government.
Yeah, that
is the ideal thing to do in a federation. That means the majority of money you are making is for your own people.
That's it.
And besides, I don't agree with this national wage thing. The man in Sokoto and the man in Lagos or the man in Port Harcourt may be members of the same country, but they don't go to the same markets and buy the same amount. And it's
rate
unfair.
Of inflation is not the same across the country.
I know friends that have not mentioned names who are waiting for the Lagos-Ibadan train to relocate because they realize the fact that with a 1-hour train from Ibadan to Lagos,
you can live there and work
why
here.
Should I stay in Lagos and pay somebody 3 million a year? I go there and pay
with a fast train, I think about 200 kilometers per hour. That's fast.
Just to Lagos or 25-30 minutes. That's where we are going. We need to remove all these overhanging elements that we think is helping Nigerians, but actually causing problems. And I spoke to a governor who was very clear. He said he had 2 choices: reduce manpower and pay the new rates, or pay the new rates and go under. And it was being realistic, because he said the majority of the money he makes, he used to pay civil servants.
I hope you remembered to tell him that if you are between the devil and the deep blue sea, the man says, jump into the sea. Somebody might save you. But he didn't take a dive.
He didn't.
So we are there.
Yeah, most definitely.
Going around in circles.
It's a multidimensional angle.
The answer is there. Why not go there?
Because governance is not about the people. If governance was about the people, then there's no need for you to dilly-dally over issues that affect those that have kept you there as their representative for a period of time. I have worked with the civil service, Jones, and I tell you that one of the demotivating factors is what many persons take home. And I must say here that even the differences between the earnings of civil servants and public servants, it's all lies that must be addressed. This was a problem perhaps put together by...
So more like saying you and I were graduates at the same time.
Most definitely.
You went to NNPC, I went into the federal ministry.
In fact, you went to DMO.
Yes, Department...
Management Office.
Yes. Jones, my issue is, and that is why many persons believe or see civil service as dumping grounds for people who are jobless. I served in the civil service. I gave the best of my abilities. I'm saying it here on international television that TVC.
Are they owing you?
They didn't owe me, and
Okay,
I don't owe them.
I was going to say, wait.
No.
I was going to say, let's go to court.
No, not at all.
No,
I left healthily, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve there. But it is not a place where even many men can work, because once the family expands and responsibility increases, then you begin to have problems on the home front because you're not able to do what you should do. It is very unrealistic that they have to even come to the table to discuss what people earn.
I was also there.
Also, we share a history now.
Hold on. And all these gentlemen would agree. At a time, this country was sane. It was sweet.
But now that it has gone all right, what do we do?
So we
government teachers were probably
teachers
the best
were.
paid.
Oh yeah. But I'm saying, succeeding governments never took advantage of seeing tomorrow now.
Because we don't give room for proper research. At times, you have to evolve strategies, because if you could feed 1,000 mouths, maybe in the year 2000, on maybe 1,000 square meters where you do plantation, you have to think about the percentage increase in the population such that you increase the arable land available for plantation to feed your people. For instance, in China, as we speak now, there's an expansion and technology deployed to feed the increasing population, particularly in rice plantation. I don't know if our agriculturists are into some kind of research to address that. So I think, again, that this issue of the federal government taking a chunk of what comes into the coffers of government is an anomaly. The northern part of the country is sitting on immense mineral resources unexplored.
Untapped.
Untapped. And it is simply because they feel it is not to their advantage to go into such exploration, since they'll be shipping the bulk of the money to the center.
Judy, we must rub this in. It pays at the same time to control our population.
It pays. And I was reading the other day, the federal government said they need to do something about the Nigerian population, I think last week or so. You see, our population is a strength at this time. But the rate at which our people are procreating, that this population explosion is already looking like a time bomb.
Makes you wonder sometimes whether poverty really day.
No, poverty costs them.
Poverty day.
Poverty go make people produce children.
When people, there's no work, you are someone who is at home
job.
and what he has is a lodge.
Go and take the job.
You know what they call a lodge? You know what Yorubas call a lodge?
Loincloth.
Loincloth. It is his loincloth alone that you see him stand in front of his house.
I hope they are not watching you.
They are watching. Maybe some of them will go and remove their loincloths after hearing me talk about
and buy 3/4.
So the thing is, the population, yes, at this stage, it is a factor. I mean, it is a plus for us. But it can't continue like this. Yeah. And we just must find a way to encourage people not to go on liberal sex, and just procreating for the fun of it. Sex cannot be a means of recreation.
They say they cure madness.
It cannot be a means of recreation. People should not, because look, the rate at which we are growing has to be the fastest in the world.
It is the fastest.
It's the fastest in the world.
We're going to be the
Other countries, even some African countries, are already consciously trying to get people to not only space child, but even reduce.
GKB, they talk at large now. On these premises, there are many pregnant women.
Because me, I don't.
No, he's talking about.
Me, I don't.
We are saying the same thing.
It's not about excessive.
Me, I don't already. I don't already hang my boot. I pity the ones.
Did you announce it?
I don't hang my boot.
He's announcing
About
it now.
9 years ago, I don't hang my boot. The people, but we have to tell people. You know, Sanusi, the emir, talked about it some time ago.
Yes,
and they were calling him names.
It was flayed for saying that.
The rate at which people get married and then procreate is that someone has 14 kids. And it's just a civil servant who does not hand so much.
3 wives.
I mean, it has to be madness.
Remember the joke about why people don't have a lot of children in March?
Yeah.
It's because in October, they remember that they have to pay school fees. And bros will just go down.
And once,
all right.
after that, they go back to their...
Let's drop anchor here, gentlemen. So you see, ours is to provoke the debate. The issues are here. We resolve them here and leave the rest to you, just so you make up your mind. Babajide Kolade Otitoju.
I greet you.
BKO.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Biko, yeah. Gani Kayode Balogun, GKB.
It's always
I
a
thank you
pleasure.
too.
Yeah.
And CAT.
Okay, actually. Don't make me a link on your show.
Oh, no,
Come on, I'm not a felon.
All right, Kuno, many thanks for your time.
Thank you too.
So that's it for today. Watch Journalists Hangout on other platforms showing on your screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. The feedback channel is the same. I am Citizen Jones. Bye-bye for now. Bless you.